seminar, which may not be immediately obvious, but it's the issue of where the Griffin came from and what he should and shouldn't be, which is why we have the ancestors here of the pug, the African, and what I call a Chinshaw Spaniel, you call an English toy Spaniel, of which there aren't any. So hence the big blow-up picture. So, who am I? My name's Howard Ogden. Kennel of Griffin's called Beauview. First Griffin when I was 2 years old. Mother went to the local butcher shop and thought we should have a family dog. And there was a vehicle outside with these little faces at the window. So she went in the shop and asked, and there was a grand lady called Lady Cod, who was a founder member of the Northern Griffin Club back home. And Rex, our first Griffin, I was 2 years old, and he was a black ruff. But he was actually an early Griffin Doodle type, because Lady Cod, as I later discovered, believed that she could improve the coat texture of the black Griffin by breeding to Pomeranian, so as to give this texture. It's right to say that Rex did have a bit of a nose as a result. So he was the first one, and then I spent 3 summer holidays, which probably explains me now in life, with 4 spinster sisters of a Catholic persuasion who lived in the Cheshire area and had the Greg toy Griffins. And so I learned during these summer holidays all about picking up dog shit. I learned about grooming the one. She liked to have a ciggy, and so she'd be on one side of this Griffin, I'd be on the other. Well, she'd start to nod off, and the fag ash would get longer and longer and longer until that dropped. But I learned about whelpings, and whelpings was in an armchair, and you pick this thing up, and they went cleft, 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 which is a reference to the cleft palate. But it was a very good education because they were on sort of 3 floors, this house, with a cellar. And so you learned a lot, and I took the dogs out, and you started to understand about movement and so on. So a dog called Copper I acquired, it was 1969, and although it sounds wonderful, it wasn't actually in the great scheme of things. For this dog, Champion Hunter's Melody of Greg Toy Copper was 4 times best of breed at Crufts, 1972 to 1975, and he was runner-up in the group on one occasion. He became the breed record holder. Great, how wonderful. But where exactly do you go from there? You go right down there. So he was my dog. He wasn't a very good stud dog, in fact, but progressed from there. But you then had to go back to basics and start to learn. But it was a good education. Used to go on the dog bus, the coaches, to the shows. So that was the background, and then now plus 20 champions, I suppose, covering all the coats and colours. And I've been fortunate to do the specialties from Australia, 3 times, Russia several times, just to be politically up to date. Belarus, which was an entirely different experience. But what the great thing was, that in Belarus, where my hostess, she said, well, Howard, in Minsk, we have everything. We even have a McDonald's. We just don't have any rights, which does make you think. But what was great was that the dog scene was outside of the government, and we went round to all these old high-rise flats, and somebody had done Griffin fridge magnets, somebody had done a cake, and so it was great that the people, they had their freedom to do this, and then of course I've done them across Scandinavia, and now Canada. So that completes it, really. Right. Yeah, you can.
It's all very well you're talking about yourself.
Okay. There's a bit of abuse now.
Not at all, because I know that you
I
are.
tickle.
I wanted to say that
I think she remembers it.
his dog hasn't seen it in a couple of years.
I tickle.
I wanted to welcome Howard to Canada. For most people who are in the breed, Howard is synonymous with Beauview, and Beauview is synonymous with quality, typing, Cross Griffon the world over. So, and you've told him about your Crufts wins, 7 Crufts wins?
Well, I didn't tell him that bit, but yeah.
7 Crufts wins. He's been showing since he was in shorts. Truly been showing in shorts. To be having a dog, a legacy of breeding over 52 years, made up over 20 UK champions.
Despite the youthful appearance.
Yeah. And countless international champions around the world. Howard's done it all in the breed, exhibiting, breeding, and judging. And one of the reasons he has made such an impact on the breed has been his willingness to share his experience and his passion. He's been prepared to mentor and to share his dogs with breeders all over the world.
Yeah.
He's generous with his experience and transparent in his breeding practices, which is a rare thing. I am a very lucky beneficiary of your generosity. I was fortunate to have 2 Griffs from Howard just as he was starting to wind down his breeding and I was starting. So I'm very fortunate to start with Birdie and Tickle. In the UK, Howard has passed for 5 of the 7 groups and is on the cusp of obtaining the final 2. He has passed for all breeds, best in show, and is a championship judge of 85 plus breeds across all 7 groups.
Yep.
He remains the youngest judge ever to have judged at Crufts, invited for the first time at just 22. Wow. So you're about 42 now?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are so grateful as a club that you came here all this way to judge, and to Karen Nesbitt for all the leaps and bounds and tricks and things to be able to have you
amazing.
Standing here. So welcome.
Okay, thank you. So it's the culmination of Stacey's work that brings us to the here and now, and you're all being part of that. Good girl. Yeah.
She's got this on because otherwise she'll dive off like any
I thought I should have something of mine that I can then talk about, not upset anybody. So, will she stand? Would?
Well, no, that was the trick, you see.
Yeah.
Showing her to a championship without having legs.
Go on, Tick.
Here, I'll get the date.
Yeah.
That's no good. have done that.
And obviously, what I also have to accept as the foreigner coming here to judge, that I am obliged to have the Canadian breed standard in mind, which I've read 2 or 3 times. And it's not as bad as I first thought. I have to accept. There are some aspects that really do need removing, and it's never been written by anybody who's bred a griffin. Absolutely not. It couldn't be. But overall, it does give you the essence. The one word about the griffin that it doesn't actually include is the word cobby. Mm-hmm. Cobby as in cob horse, as in small and squarely built and heavy besides. So that is what a griffin is. It's a cob. It is not any variety, trip-trap, pretty toy dog. Mm-hmm. It is not some sort of silhouette. And it is not either something to be raced around a ring so that it loses balance and so on. There is so much handling that goes on which involves dogs like the griffin, like the pug, where they are raced around the ring and they can't cope. And it's ridiculous and they're thrown completely off balance. But I'm grateful to these kind of people here bringing the Affenpinscher and bringing the, if I get rid of this before I lose it, and bringing the pug, because the point of this is to explain where a griffin has come from and what it should or shouldn't be in relation to these other breeds that are very much part of it. So, in basic terms, come on here. Why have I had this? Because this is the body of the Affenpinscher. It is a tube-like, and so you're not looking at tuck-up, for example. But what an Affenpinscher is, this one's very nice. They don't have a neck. They have a small head. They don't have any angulation. And they've got, it's true. Right, I'm there. And the body's a tube. So, you know, and we don't want that. And as I said, we have the small head to start with. What we do have, of course, is harsh coat that you get. And also you have the shape in terms of the back line and the squareness look. So in terms of the pug, you've got the bone. You've got the size of the head. You've also got the issue of when docking was banned. People get a right state about a griffin tail if it isn't absolutely bang up like this. But of course what happens is, it depends, this is the important bit, the set on here. So if we have it here, but in fact the tail is lower set, well, it's going to come over that bit closer. And obviously, with the nature of the pug's tail, we cannot actually expect that every griffin tail is going to be something like this all the time. Of course not. How can it be when this is the ancestor? But you have substance, which is what we want. You have a dog which is heavy for its size, and it's all there and compact. English Toy Spaniel. Okay. What this gives is it sort of cleans everything up because you don't have any wrinkle or anything of that nature. What it also gives, and the Canadian standard currently refers to it, but by the time I go home it won't, of a dome. This is a dome. Do you want that as your Griffin skull? Of course you don't. And we have the serious health issue of syringomyelia, where the brain isn't fitting, and it's causing health issues, which we are very much addressing and have addressed as a breed. So it's a rounded skull that we want, but you can see the relative large roundness of the head, and what you also see there are the features, so that your eye is large, your nose is bang in between those eyes, you've got the finish in terms of the jaw, so those aspects it's given, and I've used the phrase that it didn't always go down that well at home. I talked about a touch, that was the important word, of elegance. And what I mean by that is the cleaning up of the lines, so you don't have the wrinkled skull on your smooths. And it's not to do with an elegant body, it's to do with the fact, and I think it's largely through the influence of this breed that it's had that effect. You see, the dog, what the Canadian standard does say, in fairness, right at the beginning, is that function is what's important. And this is a stable dog. He's a rat. And he was kept by the cab drivers in Belgium, where the wealthy were the ones who were using the cabs, and I think he was a bit streetwise, and so when these other dogs were also around and about, well, I think he got a bit friendly with some of them, and as a result the Griffin itself developed, and of course it was adopted by the royal family in Belgium, rather like the old corgi in Britain, and so it's popular, and it's used as imagery in the First World War for patriotism, so far as the Belgians are concerned. So it is a significant breed in that respect. So the head is large and round, and the features are central. The eye is slightly to the side, and the big pad. We have to have the big open nose pad because it's about the breathing, and that of course is important. With ears of this nature, no ears aren't bad, are they? So I recollect.
We're fabulous.
Yeah. So the baby's ears are very good. So they're up, a little line, and then back down. So I look upon it as a fox terrier ear, ideally. So the crease is just above the level of the skull, and his ears are quite well placed. They're certainly 95% there. Some will be a little to the side, but what you don't want is ears that are down here. You don't want a houndy ear. We would refer to it as. We don't look for that. So those big features that are healthy features, breadth here, and I say to people, don't be afraid. You see, we'll trim it from here, beard-wise, round, because when you are looking at it in human terms, your eye is drawn to where we've put this beard. And so it can look certainly wider here than it is. So go like this. Just do that. And then don't look at the exhibitor's face, but just go like that. And you'll discover if there is a narrowness here, because you want breadth, and you want strength of jaw, and you want what we call turn up. We call it turn up, and we call it lay back, where it goes back on an angle towards the skull. And it gives it that sort of quizzical, cheeky look, which is what we want. It's a dog with a neck which isn't a long neck. It is not an elegant neck. It is a muscular neck, and it will just have this slight arch on this aspect here. Oh, sure, just to go up. So it's just. Hey, look, no, so it's just enough here, so that you're then into the angulation here, and you want this well angled back, because you want that this is here, that's not too far forward, because one of the most vital bits of the griffon is breadth here. So when your hand goes in the front, as in here, and she's got it, I'm tapping it there already in terms of the development of some forechest, you hit brisket. Your hand doesn't come through to the back of here, you immediately hit brisket. And when we write critiques at home, people will talk and I'll say, you mustn't do this. Just came on a little wide in front. Yes, that's because the standard says that it is rather wide in front. That's so that it can cope with the ribbing and the brisket. I don't mean that it's out at shoulder like this, no, but it's not narrow like that either, so it wonk there, and you feel here immediately you hit brisket. And when the dog moves, because it's then got some angulation, it's got that build, it will move straight and forward. It reaches like this. What you'll have seen today, it's got nothing to do with Canada, as such, common enough, is hackneying, like this. There was plenty of that for you to observe today. That's wrong. It should reach forward, and the back legs should punch forward similarly, because these breeds don't hackney. The African Pincer has a straight front action. It's limited in its angulation, as we said, but that is important. So you want a round rib, and you want a short, flat loin here. You don't want there to be, I had one or two today, and if you watch me do anything, you will see me quite, if it came to it, I'll have my hand here, and I'm going like this, because I'm indicating that the dog has got length of loin that I don't want. It's a short, flat loin, and it's this big, rounded rib, and depth here, and pow, when you put your hand and your fingers through beneath. Well angulated also in the rear. We want the tail coming off the back. Now, what we do, because we know what we're doing, so we will take these fingers here, and we will pin this. So I'll put my fingers there, and I'll pin it there. And what you should do is just say, just move that there, and then you can see if it's bang off the top line, or if there's any slight if you like, in croup terms. But if you don't do that, you'll come along and you'll hit our thumb and finger there where we've pinned it. So you need to invite that goes. There's always a paranoia, isn't there, in terms of dog exhibiting, that the tails have all got to be held and whatever, no matter what breed it is. We do this stuff with a tail, whereas in fact, some tails are specific in relation to breeds, but this comes on off the back, and you want good angulation in the rear, and you want a short hop, and you want them to punch as they move away. They should punch. They shouldn't do this sort of thing as they go away, or like this, which you will get if they don't have the breadth. And she is a pug. It's the way that she is built, so it's got that squareness to it. The coats, so you want a hard jacket on a rough, and you want something which is very close, almost seal-like on a smooth, where you've got to avoid as smooth. Some smooth coats will carry quite a lot of coat over their shoulders, and you don't want that. You want a tight, short coat on the smooth. Here, the standard allows for Belge, in the sense that it's red with a lot of black cast over it. A lot of that will come from the involvement of the black and tan in the breeding, and quite frankly, very difficult with a litter to determine exactly issues of colour. I know the Czech Republic, the club there, they have provision for a committee that sit, and if you're looking to change the colour description from that which you registered very early on, because you thought you had something which in fact you don't, because the black will often clear, and you just left with a clear red, but you thought you had this Belge, they will permit, as a jury sitting, a change of the registration in respect of the colour. But to say what's really important is that we've got our cobs, and that we've got breeds that differ from those which are our history and which are important. And it wasn't one breed followed another. These were all breeds of dog at the time together, and they mixed together, and they brought the Griffin into being. You've got the cat-like feet as well, but it's the most important aspect is the shape, is the cobbiness, is the heavy for its size, and also its attitude, or as Americans would say, attitude. Yeah. It's a terrier temperament. It's described as the terrier of the toy group. So I want to see less and less stacking, and I will invariably invite people to get up, because you want to see the natural temperament of the dog, and will allow it then to move and see how it is, rather than being propped up into a place. So those are the important aspects as I see it, but you must have areas that you query or are less sure about. So you're welcome to fire away, not least as you've been watching today. If some of you were here on other days, then there are differences between how I saw them and others may have seen them. But the important thing is that you get the basics, and that is how the breed develops here. And the Canadian standard allows you 2 sizes. Well, you know.
I know.
And is more critical of the small size than larger size. Well, yes, after the war at home, we had miniatures and miniature classes at club shows. Loads of breeds have that sort of situation. But it doesn't mean that you follow on that way and that is for the benefit of the breed. You want the breed to be able to produce naturally. So another reason why you want the build. Puppy dog is just showing the arch just behind his skull, but it's not. That's what it is. It's an arch which gives the head prominence, and they can use that for their attitude. But it's not a long, slender neck. It is a medium, muscular neck.
Howard, when you're looking at him, can you comment a bit for judges the difference between looking at a Brussels Griffon at the age of 9 months as he is versus other entries and other breeds that you might have in the toy group?
Well, they vary. So some will be heavier than he is. But in terms of how they're not a breed that develop rapidly at up to 12 months. They take time in that respect, and and they do grow up on the leg, and so they have to have time to come into themselves as a frame. And you just have to be a little patient in that respect. Like all breeds, they will go through a teenagery phase. So, how about you, Sandy? She's thinking, oh, God, don't ask me anything. Because Sandy's been brilliant today, mentoring and helping people through it. But in terms of aspects of the Griffon, the aspects that you hold dear, I guess I'm the same as me, but
It is the same as Howard. I like the smaller Griffon. I like the Griffon up to about 4.5, maybe 5 kilos at the most. I like a square cobby dog. And I look for the same as you do. I look at the head and the top line, the movement, all of those things. It's a complete package. It's not just one aspect, is it?
and with a bit of luck you'll find one that ticks those boxes. I mean, these talks are all well and good. I say this at home. I say, now there you are. Now you've got it. You've got it in your mind's eye. We've had it on screen. Now you bloody go and find it. Good luck.
I judged in Australia about 4 years ago, and I had in my mind, I'd heard about a red rough dog, which I had seen photos. I loved him. And he came in the ring and he wasn't there, and I couldn't do anything with him. The next class came in, and it was a black and tan rough dog, and he came in and he went, "Hi everyone, are you watching? Because I'm the man." And that dog went out there and just never put a foot wrong, kept his top line, kept his animation, and he was it. And you don't often get to see it. And when you do, it's magic, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and the best that I chose today was because she had the shape, but when she moved, I couldn't fault it.
No.
It was absolutely true, and it was straight of this nature. It had the width, it had punch from behind, and it was just so accurate and had bone. So that's what the appeal was in that respect. And it was interesting, shall we say, in terms of the what I call the champions, in the sense that they were all quite different. So looking to find what you were seeking was more difficult. So I think I ended up coming down was the right word, with the winners more. But that's got to be done. I'm not sure whether. I think sometimes people with judges that they don't think that way, and they think in terms of the top end, or this is titles and so on. But dogs can get titles in circumstances where they barely meet another one. In Europe, remember, under the FCI, the breed is divided into three. There are three sets of certificates: a red ruff, a smooth, a Brabançon of any colour, and a Belge. And the Belge there is black or black and tan ruff. They never compete against one another, never, to gain their titles. They only meet in a group. Whereas otherwise, we have to be the best of the quality of whatever the coat or whatever the colour, and that's what's important. That keeps the standard of the breed up, which is important. So the bits I haven't got tonight.
Do you want to discuss black and tan coloring? What you might see?
Can do.
What I wanted to do is bring George out because he's a good example of where the colors lead.
Okay.
He's retired, so you can criticize him all you like.
Oh, I will.
Just mind a bit. We'll have to wake him up to tell him.
There's a great variation.
Say again.
There's a great variation in what we saw. Do you find that
Yes.
common all over the world?
Not to that degree. No. Well, because it's to do with numbers. And also, we don't have altereds compete in our regular classes. All the exhibitor has to do is produce a little medical note, and that deals with it. And so you can have your altereds in open dog, our top class. They're not segregated at all.
Can I just ask what alter is? Is that
It's neutered or spayed, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you'll see Howard, he has got a lot of red. He had the points when he was younger. He's got spots. He's got the two triangles. But what happened as he got older is very common in black and tans, and so for judges looking at a dog like this, where you've got some blending, what do you do with that?
When you look at the whole dog, and that aspect is the least important, frankly. The standard here also says, which is why I say nobody ever read a Griffin who's written it, that white hairs are almost described, I think, as disqualifiable. No, that's not the same as white patches. But white hairs are absolutely commonplace, and that they'll be underneath and when the dog is stripped, and frankly it shows that the dog is a genuine colour. I spent a lot of time with the Scottish Terrier people when I've been here, and they said exactly the same in terms of the issue the white hairs. I went to the American specialty in Louisville, and I went in the grooming room, and I was staggered, absolutely staggered at what was going on. And there was a black and tan, rough black and tan, and it had what I would call a skull cap, like a monk, over here. Huge tan colouring here, and so the guy's fiddling with it, and I said, what's this? Oh, we call this reverse black and tan. Reverse black and tan. Oh, said I. I said, I call it fake. But yeah, reverse black and tan, which is, quite sort of scary.
It's helpful about the comments about the white hairs because we are very happy to have many more owner handlers in the breed than has been the case in the past. And so you will get in the black and tan odd straight hair, white hair.
Yeah. And on the smooths, it's hellish difficult to get the eyebrow marking. The reason for that is there's no hair. If it is your rough, then you've got hair growing, and that's much easier. But it's really difficult in the smooth. But you want the tan to be rich. You really want it to be a rich red, and you want the marking in terms of what you call penciling down on the feet. So it's what you might refer to as traditional black and tan markings. So this is a good coloration, and the blacks should be deep colour. This, so which is what you want. But you can see them here and down onto the feet. So yes. So again, you've got these tipped ears, which are important because I sort of talked to them in a different language, didn't I? And they're and I'm kind of doing the same, and this is how we communicate. And it's good because the handler doesn't have to worry because like this, and that's the way you want them to be. You want them to have attitude. I think that's really important. Okay, were there any aspects?
Does anybody have any questions? It is your chance.
I was wondering, you were talking about the white hair. Do we see them more often on roughs than smooths?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you would, because of the undercoat.
Okay.
And you're not going to get that on
On
the
a smooth. Okay.
Yeah. So, but you do get wherever you are now. We get at home. The dog showing has been limited to people really showing their older dogs and not showing a lot of the young stock because it's too damn expensive. And people say, well, I can't go and take this one, this one, this one. We have, the champ shows will do a deal where you could take 5 dogs for £100. You might be otherwise paying 30 or up to 35, but you could, if you're going to take 5, then they'll usually do a £100 package for them. So, but they've got to have attitude, and they've got to have this weight, and they've got to have this cobbiness, and they mustn't be just some narrow little smooth. Is that your
Yes,
smooth
no,
there?
do you have your smooth
Yeah.
right there? It's on Fern's lap.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bring her a sec.
Yeah.
So she was reserve winner village. There we go. And because reason for that is she got the chicken from a slight angle so that they can see. So she's the right shape, she's the right structure. Here there's just enough neck. And here she's got a typically round head. The head on the smooth, sometimes people just don't get it. And they say, I don't really quite understand, or I can't see them, or a black, I just can't see into the face of a black. And I say, well, you shouldn't be judging the breed then, actually. But you know, it is the same. It's just, you know, it doesn't have the coat, so you still have the roundness. But what I like about her particularly is from here, when she carried herself, and when she moved, then she had this outline. So she had just that little bit of arch to the neck, which was dead level, and she carried herself with that sort of attitude. And it's a pretty decent coat as well. She is clear red. And she's not heavily wrinkled or anything like that. So, and she's not that how old is she? 4. Yeah.
Just adding to what Hal was saying about judges not being able to see a smooth. So when I did had some people come up, and I actually took some rubber bands, and I got the beard, and I did that with the beard, and they all went, oh, like that. They could suddenly see that it was the same shaped head, and yeah. So that was an interesting little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be afraid to do that because we're no different to any other breed. You know, we will seek to hide and to fool and for you to discover. And you only discover that if you properly go hands-on. If you just go pat, 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 move it, well, you've learnt nothing, and it doesn't do any good in that respect. So.
Do you have any comment, having looked at the Canadian dogs, your suggestions on goals that we should be working on? You can see straight away that we take it.
You want me to leave in, you know, not in a body bag?
No, I would love to is some constructive,
Yeah.
what you saw that needs improvement, that we need less of and this and more of.
Cobbiness and substance.
I'm sorry, we can't hear anything back here with dogs barking especially, so
Need more cobbiness.
Cobbiness and substance is what is needed, I think. And more weight and more bone.
Yeah.
And keeping in mind what a griffin should be, and encouraging the Canadian Kennel Club to address those issues in the standard that don't help and or are ridiculous. So, you know, some aspects that we've been discussing need removing, and that's down to the club and all of you as the breeders to seek to encourage them. Hopefully, because you know you've made world history in these 3 days by the largest entry at an all-breed championship show every day. I mean that's never happened in the entire world. So that means that you should be being noted for being able to progress the breed and then those bits of the standard that don't help. So hopefully they will listen now. I don't see how they can ignore you after these 3 days were over. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.